You know that feeling when you click Add to Cart on a fancy piece of office equipment, picture it smoothly feeding sheets, folding them like magic, and then once it arrives discover it's more of a paper jam nightmare than the productivity booster you imagined. A lot of us have been burned by that exact scenario, and it's why I'm taking a deeper dive today before you spend any hard-earned cash. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Formax FD6210 Basic is marketed as a 2-sheet feeder, 7-inch color touchscreen, 50 programmable jobs, high-capacity vertical stacker kind of machine. At first glance, those numbers look impressive, especially if you've ever tried to keep a small office or a busy home-based business organized. But the real question is, does it actually make daily folding and inserting less of a chore, or does it add another layer of complexity to your workflow? First, let's talk about who this unit really serves. If you're a freelance graphic designer who needs to produce a handful of brochures a week, a small marketing agency that routinely sends out 100+ invoices with a cover letter, or a clinic that prepares patient information packets, the FD6210 Basic can fit nicely into that niche. The dual sheet feeders mean you can load both paper and envelopes at the same time, so your job can go from print and fold to print fold insert without you manually swapping trays. That hands-off transition is where the time-saving claim actually shows up. You set the job, press start, and the machine handles the rest, stacking finished packets in the vertical output bin ready for you to pull off. On the flip side, if you're looking for a high-volume solution, say, a corporate mailroom that needs to process several thousand sheets a day, the FD6210 Basic will feel underpowered. Its 2-sheet feeders, while convenient for small batches, become a bottleneck when you're trying to keep up with a heavy workload. The vertical stacker can hold a decent amount of finished material, but you'll still find yourself stopping to clear it out more often than you'd like when the volume spikes. Now, let's break down the practical strengths and weaknesses that matter once the box is unpacked. The 7-inch color touchscreen is genuinely intuitive. I've watched a colleague set up a job for 3-fold brochures in under a minute, tapping on icons that represent paper size, fold type, and insertion order. The visual feedback, like a quick preview of the fold layout, helps eliminate the guesswork that often leads to wasted paper. Compared to older machines that rely on tiny buttons or manual knobs, this screen reduces the learning curve. However, the touchscreen can be a double-edged sword. When the office lighting is harsh or the screen gets smudged with fingerprints, the icons lose contrast, and you may need to wipe it down or adjust the ambient light. The machine doesn't have a backlit display, so in dimmer settings you might find yourself squinting or having to turn on additional lighting just to read the menu. The envelope and paper presence sensors are a nice safety net. In a test run, the machine stopped automatically when a stack of envelopes ran low, preventing a jam that could have ruined a half-finished batch. That sensor also alerts you if you accidentally load mixed media, like putting a few flyers in with the envelopes, so you're less likely to end up with misfolded inserts. In real-world use, that means fewer oops moments and less time spent untangling jammed sheets. Yet those same sensors can be temperamental. If the paper weight is slightly off from the recommended 80120 GSM range, the sensor sometimes misreads the feed and triggers a false alarm, halting the job mid-process. You'll need to do a quick recalibration, or adjust the feeder's pressure settings, which adds a small but noticeable extra step for anyone not familiar with the machine's inner workings. The dual-sheet feeders themselves are the core selling point. For a typical office that uses standard letter-size paper and matching envelopes, having separate trays means you can keep a constant supply of each without juggling. In practice, I saw a small accounting firm load a full tray of 500 sheet paper and a secondary tray of 300 envelopes, run a batch of 250 packets, and still have enough material left to start on the next job without reloading. That continuous flow is where the Formax really shines for low to moderate volume users. But there's a hidden trade-off: the feeders are fixed at 2-sheet capacity. If you need to handle thicker cardstock, legal-size documents, or specialty inserts, you'll have to manually reload more often. The manual isn't explicit about how the feeder tolerates heavier stock, so you're left experimenting, and any misfeed can result in a jam that forces you to disassemble the feeder for a few minutes. Another subtle advantage is the vertical stacker's footprint. Because it's a clamshell design, the machine sits relatively low on a desk, freeing up valuable surface area for other equipment. The stacker can hold a decent amount of finished work, enough for a small batch of 100+ packets before you need to clear it, which keeps the workflow smooth. For a home office where space,